Welcome back, guys. In the last video we covered the initial way we can have React update our data based on changes, but we haven't really covered the React lifecycle at all. So we're gonna do that in this quick video. I will show you when does the child component gets rendered and when does the parent component get rendered and when do both get re-rendered. So let's go ahead and get into that. First thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of these lines here. We don't need them. And I'm going to make this a string so that our component is happy, but it doesn't bother us. You will notice I've added a few examples here: inner state, lifted state, and use effect one. We're gonna go ahead and start with inner state. This is very similar to what we were doing with the header, but I want to clearly point out why it is that it works and what is not happening. So when we make a change to this text input, we should be able to see this whole function read run. So this gets output, and then in the consumer here, the parent, I'm going to go ahead and add another statement that will let us know that the whole app re-rendered. I say the whole app because this is the parent most component. So let's go ahead and give it a go. All right, here we go. Here is our input. So let's look at how many times things rendered. So it looks like the app rendered twice and the inner state rendered twice. This is an intentional feature of the React strict mode, and it is intended to help you find issues with how you're using React during development mode, but in production this will not be the case, and we can make it act like production, and I'll show you how to do that. You'll want to jump back into the index file, and you'll notice how by default, since React 18, the application comes with strict mode. You want strict mode when you're developing because you want to make sure that you're not changing the state of things outside of the React lifecycle, because you will lose all of the benefits of the shadow DOM and the advanced optimizations that React is known and loved for. So we're doing this for learning purposes. Let's go back to our application, and now we can see that each of them ran only one time. Now I'm gonna go ahead and clear it out, make a change to the input. I'm gonna type 5, and we can see that only the child rendered. The parent did not re-render at all. So let's go ahead and make a small change to make both re-render. And that happens when we have the lifted state. And that means that the component is state agnostic. It just knows that something has happened, and it'll trigger the function to handle the state. As we can see here, this is the unchanged that will fire. I'm going to bring this over with the correct type as well. And then we will go back to our client here, the app itself. And we are gonna say, we need to import this, of course. We're gonna say that we'll have some state here. Remember these, this pair here, this is the variable and this is the function that will notify React when there is a change. If you look back at the previous video, if you don't really understand what that is doing. But another thing that I want to mention, of a highlight here, is that this initial state is only set one time. So state will be 1, and then when we set the state, it will be 2. I'm going to display it. I'm going to send it into the header. How about that? So let's go ahead and jump back to our application and re-render. So everything has rendered once. If I make a change to the first input, you're going to see that all 3 re-rendered because that is the lifted state. So what's happening specifically is that this inner component, lifted state, is going to call the unchanged function that is actually declared over here, and it's going to update this state here. What that's going to do is going to say, hey, re-render app. And when we re-render app, we also re-render lifted state and inner state. If we go ahead and change inner state only, we only get that one re-rendered. This is how React maintains such high performance, even in pages with a lot of data and a lot of interactivity. On the next video, we're going to spend some time learning about the useEffect hook and how it behaves similar to what I've just shown you, and how it behaves differently, and how you can choose in between the two. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next week.